Okay,
Cool.
that's it.
So ready to get going?
That's it. Let's do
Cool.
it.
So welcome to another episode of the Evolve podcast. This week I'm joined by Professor Christian Farioli, who is a digital marketing lecturer and strategist, founder of ESD Dubai, and author of The Pizza Guide to Digital Marketing. Christian, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome, Simon. And by the way, you're one of the very few that can pronounce correctly my name and surname. So big kudos for you.
I've done a good job. I've got a few Italian friends, so I often get told off if I get their names wrong. So I've had some practice.
There we are.
I think what's really interesting for me, and we've spoken before you come on the show, is actually really starting at your journey into digital marketing, because obviously it's a broad church today. There's lots of things involved in it, but you're actually very much involved at the early, I don't want to call you a founding father, that's probably too strong, but involved very early in digital marketing. So take us through your career, and almost mapping that to how digital marketing has progressed and kind of what you've seen from very early days and being the first to dip your toe in to what you're seeing today.
All right. Actually, I discovered about digital marketing, I would say by accident, because I was working in Oracle in sales. And but because I'm an IT engineer, I realized that how is it possible that a company like Oracle is not using any technology to help generating more sales? So I was doing the sales the old school way, which is call customer, eventually arranging meetings with the account manager, etc., until finally the client agree to move forward, send a purchase order, etc. But in order to get clients, simply I was working on leads generated by the marketing department. And then again, I'm talking about that this was the year 2003. So this was 21 years ago. So it's pretty much normal that company didn't know what was digital marketing back in the days. And so basically, cut the story short, as I was researching online about what kind of ways there are to get sales, etc., I stumbled across Google Ads, that back in the days used to be called Google AdWords. And I spoke with my line manager about it. Then we spoke with the marketing department, and they had no clue about what I was talking about. So basically, the country manager agreed to give me a test budget to try to run a campaign through these things called Google AdWords. And then the result was successful. So that's why I continued doing it for quite some time. And even though after changing country and location, etc., when I came to Dubai, I was working at the beginning in real estate, and I was doing the same. I was running campaign online and getting customers. But it was only in 2011 where I participated in a conference where there were speakers from United States, Canada, UK, and Australia. And for the first time, they were talking about these things called digital marketing. So imagine my surprise, because this is what I was doing it since 2003 until 2011. And for me, it was simply getting customers online. This is how I was calling it. And actually, according to everyone else, I was the crazy guy doing crazy things that nobody can understand. Until I realized that there were more crazy people like me from different countries doing the same. But finally, these things had a name, and the name was digital marketing. That was my wow, haha moment. And ever since, I've been doing that full-time, full blast. I opened my agency in 2010, and that's it. So basically, has been kind of by accident until finally became my passion and my life.
And so I think there's an interesting lesson there. I mean, there'll be lots of people listening to this that work in a large corporate that want to do something that is classed as innovative or moving into uncharted territory. And I know from experience, especially with lots of clients, that's often difficult. And depending on the kind of business you work in, they can be extremely risk averse. So how do you go about almost pitching and getting budget for something that no one understood, no one knew what it was, no one had done before in a very, very large corporate business?
Right. Actually, I'll tell you, it was an absolute disaster. So every time I was pitching the idea to any organization from small to medium to large, the answer was that sounds cool, but we're not really comfortable about trying these things. So everyone was so afraid about the unknown, and I couldn't understand. how people, they don't see this, which for me was black and white clear, crystal clear. So what I did, when I start meeting the event organizer of the conference a few months later, I was explaining him what I was doing it. And he was pleasantly surprised to see that I was doing some of the things which are considered digital marketing. Then he told me, look, in the next conference, why don't you come and explain some of the things that you're doing to the audience? You have a talent for public speaking. I was thinking, what? I was always afraid and shy to speak in public. Definitely it was not for me. But then he convinced me until even I became a trainer for the Digital Marketing Institute, because I met at the conference the director of Digital Marketing Institute, and she wanted me to be one of the part-time lecturer. And again, to my surprise, people enjoy the way that I had to explain in my, let's say, funny spaghetti Italian English this concept. And that's how I start as well educating people about digital marketing. So my way to pitching organization was that I'm going to educate you about digital marketing, so then you're going to be able to understand when I'm going to pitch to you, and eventually you're going to buy my service. So that was actually my journey. So when we talk about the awareness, my awareness was educate the clients, educate the audience. And that's how I started. Then luckily, a few years later, it was a massive blast of traction, since every organization realized that they need digital marketing. Nobody can survive without. And that was how I started scaling up, and I started getting to work with the largest clients, largest organization, and that's basically becomes a normal business. It becomes my bread and butter. But I started with a lot of challenges, honestly, guys.
Yeah, I can imagine. And later on, it looks like you moved into management consultancy. So was that easier or even more difficult when it comes to challenges around digital marketing?
Let's say that I don't like the normal status quo of things. I like always to challenge myself and to go way above. So I noticed after running campaign for quite a few years that organization, they need a little bit more. So finally, every organization start understanding what was social media, what was SEO, SEM, and few other tactics. But after that, they had no clue. So if I was trying to pitch any different service, the answer was always, well, let's start with something simple first, and let's see how it goes. And so I realized the organization need to do one step back and do something ahead of the simple campaign. They need to understand more, so they need the proper strategy. And when I start asking organization, even large groups, I don't want to mention names, otherwise some old school marketing manager is going to kill me. But actually, when I was asking, so what's your digital marketing strategy? The typical answer was, well, ask my social media guy. Then I was thinking, well, that could be the social media strategy, but in broader terms of digital marketing, what's your strategy? And again, I sometimes got presented the brand strategy or the overall marketing strategy, which contained two little boxes about social media, SEO, and that's it. And again, I was realizing that there was a massive gap. So company cannot do something if they don't understand what it is. So then I created 15 years ago a strategy, which I call it the Waltz, which is based on 5 factors. And based on that strategy, every organization can run a successful online marketing activity. And I started doing it. I started advising clients about it until I perfected it thanks to one of my partners, which is a former Accenture senior digital transformation director. And then we create a consulting approach to the digital marketing strategy methodology that I develop. So it become easy to apply that methodology to any organization, so then they understand deeply what kind of activity they need and why they need it. And then we present the results of this activity to all of the boards, to the CEO, to the board, even to the CFO, to the chief of marketing and the head of IT, to make sure that everyone is aware about all of the activity that need to be done in order to massively increase the business of an organization. And then we start advising organization more than 5 years ago on the digital marketing strategy. From a small startup that they need a roadmap of digital activity, and they need to know the budget, how much it's going to cost, and where they're going to achieve in order to get funds from investors. We've done it for huge government organization, and we have done it even up to Fortune 500 companies, where They really need to understand if what they're doing was right, if the direction was right, or they need to adjust direction a little bit. So this was very beneficial for them and was beneficial for us because by showing them the roadmap of activity, then we were going to be the one executing the roadmap of activities. And they clearly understood what need to be done in order to multiply by 2 or 3x or more the revenue in a certain amount of time.
I think what's interesting there is it's almost like a well-polished sales strategy, but rather than selling to a customer, you're selling internally, which I think obviously,
Yeah.
I mean, like, so obviously, we'll come to into a minute, obviously, you've got your own business, and it sounds like you've naturally taken an entrepreneurial approach to things, but then conversely worked in very large businesses, which those two things are a bit like, chalk and cheese, oil and vinegar. It's like I've never worked in a very large corporate because I'd probably get fired within 3, 4, 5 minutes. So take me through that in terms of the art of selling ideas and process into a large corporate, and then I guess how that then took you into, and also operating entrepreneurially within a large corporate, which although you might see regularly in a job description, isn't actually always that welcome.
Yeah, actually, it was not an easy job, honestly, and I was not the perfect employee because once your big boss, they tell you, we don't do these things, don't do it, I do it anyway, then it makes you realize that I was a little bit the black sheep. And even in Dubai, when I was working for the huge real estate company, I was doing the same. I spoke with marketing and asking, so are we doing any online activity? No, this thing doesn't work in real estate. I spoke with the founder of the company. Are we doing any online activity? These are very effective. And again, no, this thing doesn't work here. So what I did, I took my credit card and I ran campaign without anyone knowing it. So, and we're getting so many leads, the entire team were getting leads. And even I asked the receptionist, please, when somebody call, just ask, do you mind if I ask you how you find out about us? And we're spending a fortune in magazines, in banners, etc. And I was spending peanuts in digital marketing activity. Now, the vast majority of the phone calls were coming because of digital marketing activities. So, and I didn't mention this to anyone because they were not ready for it. And nobody want to admit that they were wrong and I was right. So I keep that for myself. I asked the receptionist, please don't ask anyone about how you find out about us because I already know. I don't need to know it anymore. And I keep running campaign like that. So in one way, I was doing my way because I knew that the KPI ultimately was the ultimate goal. And because of that KPI, because of the sales, my salary was changing massively, dramatically. So it was my own benefit. Then only later I discovered that if I mention the results that I got to other organizations, I can advise others and I can charge money for it. That's why I opened my own agency and I start doing it. But coming back to you to talk with the big organization, it's always a challenge. We need to think that the number one challenge for any marketing manager is to keep their seat and their salary. That's the number one priority. If the company goes up, down, sideways, every marketing manager needs to keep their salary. Now, I'm sure that there are marketing managers that are going to listening at this podcast, and they're going to say yes with the head, even if they're telling their boss, no, we care about the company, we grow with the company. I mean, we know we are human. We need to save ourselves first, and then we grow our company second. But again, I only learned a few years later that there is a very interesting methodology to approach this. So I don't expect that if you work for a corporate, for a Fortune 500, you're going to suddenly stop all of the marketing activity and allocate 100% of the budget to digital marketing. I know that's not going to be possible. So the recommendation was very interesting. I don't remember exactly who gave me that, but it worked perfectly in digital marketing as well, which is the following. Out of 100% of the budget, 70% should be allocated to activity which are absolutely certain. So those activity that has been always working in your company, you are doing it with 70% of the budget. No question asked. Then 20% you allocate to activity which are a little bit innovative. You kind of think that's going to work, but you're not so sure. Maybe other companies are doing it. Maybe in your industry, other players are doing it. So you allocate 20% to those activities. Even those you're not so experienced, you're not so expert in it. And then with the remaining 10%, what are you going to do? Are you going to do absolutely experimental things? Experimental that nobody can say if it's going to work. The only requirement is make sure to track absolutely clearly the activity that you are doing. So if you're getting some results from that 10% of the budget, you need to be able to prove which results you got from the 10%. So then you're going to be able, after 1 quarter or half year, to go to your boss and say, look, we've been doing this, and with this budget, we got these results. So eventually, in the second period of time, this kind of activity is not going to be anymore done by the 10% of the budget, but it's going to be done by the 20% of the budget. And with 10%, you're going to do new additional experimental activity. What's happened is that with this 10% additional experimental activity, eventually you're going to get better results sometime than even the 70% of standard budget. So that was like the big another aha moment for me when I start experimenting this type of tactic and I saw massive results. So again, then I incorporated this in the teachings because I've been teaching digital marketing, digital transformation, and AI since 2012. And then every time where I come across some new additional innovative idea or concepts, I'm going to be the first one sharing it with all of my students because they are marketing manager of huge organization and they need to know the best practices and how to get the best results. Because I care not only about their organization, but I care about them, about their career. If they achieve some great results and they are able to prove that the results is an effect of their ideas, then their ranking is going to increase. Their position is going to increase. Even their salary is going to increase, right?
And what's the secret? Obviously, it's different for different businesses, but as a process or as an approach, like what's the secret sauce? So I think there's two common things that I see from clients. Number one is someone is just donating money to Google. They're running an AdWords account, and it's like they've not really thought it out, or it's not really working, or they haven't really run the numbers about. I know their margin in each product's only £1, but they're paying £3 to acquire a customer, and things like that. And so, or it's just ineffective. That you've just quite literally donated money to Google. That's number one. And number two is, when you must get this a lot, I want to be on the first page or want to be number one, and I'm currently on page 47 or whatever it might be. So how do you go about, I guess, building the right strategy for a business that comes to you and recognizing or demonstrating which channel and which approach is going to be most effective and have the highest return on investment?
Right. Actually, things changed a lot during those years. Because you can imagine in 2003, when I started, I was spending always 1 cent of dollar per click with Google Ads. No matter what keyword I was bidding, 1 cent of dollar per click. So you can imagine that this was like the dream. Whatever you do, you're getting results, no question asked. Then year after year after year becomes more and more expensive, more competitive. And that's why the simple paying Google was not anymore the only option. Then you need to become good. And you need to become good in paying the right amount of Google and getting as much result as possible with a smaller amount. That also came social media. And again, in 2012, when I was speaking at the conference about social media in Dubai, and I was advising organizations, you have to do special Facebook ads, etc., and you need to use social media in order to get business. The organizations, they were not ready for it. And they were telling me, look, we have a huge group, a huge company, a serious business operating in the region for so many years. We cannot be in Facebook because it's not serious. It's a platform for kids. So for us, this is totally waste of money and time. And I was thinking, how in this planet I'm going to make this company believe that social media is just growing? If you're not starting now, it's going to cost you more and more, like I experienced with Google. The more time you wait, the more you're going to pay to get the same results. And that's why, again, I started forcing some organization to do some tests, some small tests with a very small budget. And suddenly, boom, 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 they see some results. Now, some senior manager, they were still not convinced. So they were keeping a very, very, very small budget for social media until finally became a trend and they were all into it. But it took me honestly some time. And actually, I still remember that in 2012, I came across an advising CNN and CNBC in Dubai to how to do social media. So in that moment, when I was at the meeting, I was thinking, this is a bit crazy. How come a crazy Italian is advising CNN and CNBC on social media, which is something that nobody understands, nobody knows. But simply was because I was proving that I was getting results back in the days. And so any organization, they need to do it better. And they have a way to get results. And there was a way for me to prove if something was working or not working. So this was amazing until the fact that then became so competitive social media that once I still got so many answers from companies that they don't want to be in social media, they cannot do it, it's not for them, they are regulated, and so on and on and on and on and on. And every day I saw more and more and more, so call it social media gurus, launching their own one-man show, social media agency. I realized in 2013, something like this, that I was going to completely abandon social media, completely, because the market was becoming saturated in a matter of few years. And I was right, basically dedicating myself more into those complex topics that still organizations, they don't understand well. The one-man show, so-called gurus, they're still not able to understand. And that's why I kept into this kind of area where there is a need, I can show results, but it's not going to be easy to replicate what I do. And that's why later I moved into strategy, etc., etc. So this was how kind of I went across those tactics, and then I managed to keep myself a space in a market which was coming very saturated.
And yeah, I think you talked about that, and I think what I'm seeing a lot of now, and you touched on slightly on AI, is a world where lots of it's not real. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like bot-driven rubbish, and you're kind of wading through things to try and find something that's made by a human. Like I met someone the other day who has a faceless YouTube channel. He pays an entire team to make stuff and chop stuff together. He's worked out the algorithm and he's making £10,000 a month off that.
Wow.
It doesn't. And he
very good for him.
And I was sitting next to him and he was super chilled, super relaxed, doing stuff on his iPad, whatever. I was like jumping between phone call to phone call to phone call. Hair was on fire, thinking, who's the smart one here? He's like 10 years younger than I am, and he's totally relaxed. And I'm running around like an absolute lunatic in a professional services business, you know. And so, what struck me around that is it wasn't like super high quality. It wasn't awe-inspiring or brilliant. It was just like chopped up bits that a young person could just passively look at. And so it's interesting if he's benefited himself by that. So he's running a YouTube business. But how do you smartly, I guess, use some of these tools that are coming in to create something that is of higher quality, that is going to lead to leads for your business and so on, without actually compromising the output and the quality of the product that you're producing, which is social content?
So I felt actually a few times a little bit like destabilized by this kind of situation that happened to me as well. But I believe that both me and you, we choose the right path of following our passion and continue on the same way. Because this kind of YouTube tricks or social media tricks are all considered side hustle, that in just about time, they are all gonna disappear for a simple reason, because they have no entry barriers. And this was the same what's happened so many years ago in so many fields. Once I start seeing that with the $49, you can buy a training and for a single mom, you can become a social media manager in a week or two and open your own agency and stuff like this, I realized that the market is going to be saturated in no time. And it did. And then I started realizing it. Friend of mine that they had social media agency, they come back to me and they say, Christian, one of our clients, they told us that they want to stop for now our service because they want to try one of their friends, which she's a single mom doing social media and charging $100 a month to manage all social media activity for an organization. And I mean, you cannot compete with $100 a month single mom. At the same time, 1 or 2 months later, they come back to the agency because they say, yeah, this lady was nice, was very helpful with us, but we need a different level of service, different level of experience. We need advice. And this lady couldn't help us. And the same thing I see on a regularly basis in so many fields. I know a 20-year-old kid, he got the first salary in his first job. And he got not the first salary, the first bonus at the end of the year. He got 18,000 euro as a bonus. And what he did as a 20-year-old kid, he researched crypto and invest in one single project. All of it, 18,000 euro in a single crypto project. Less than 1 year later, he had 3.5 million euro. And I'm thinking, wow, am I stupid or what? I was researching and involved with crypto in a very early stage, but I never invested for one simple reason, because I'm not going to be spending my day in trading, brokering, or checking if the Bitcoin is going up, is going down, or what's going to do. That's not my job. I'm a technologist. I enable organization and people to use technology to help generating sales or profit or revenue or return of investment. Even if some of this technology can make myself rich, like Bitcoin, actually another friend of mine called me a few months ago and he told me, do you remember when you explained me what was the Bitcoin? And I was thinking, that was kind of a long time ago. And he told me, yes, you were in my place. We were in the balcony watching Dubai sunset. And then he told me, do you remember how much was the value of Bitcoin back in the days? Because I wrote it down. I say, I don't remember. It was $2.7. So when the Bitcoin was worth $2.7, I was explaining him what was the Bitcoin, etc., 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 etc. And he asked me, do you think we need to invest in Bitcoin? And I answered, look, that's not my job. I'm never gonna spend my time looking if it's gonna go up or down or what. So for me, I'm not gonna invest. That's it. And when he reached $60,000 and over and over and over, then he was thinking, man, we could have got serious money, by the way. But again, that was not my task. So I've been always focused and devoting my life to helping organization in digital marketing and now in AI. So basically using technology to grow financially. And that's what I'm doing right now and what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Even if there is a new trend, a new side hustle about building AI bot, generating money, etc., etc. Once an activity has 0 entry barrier, everyone can do it. And when everyone can do it, immediately everyone is going to do it. And then there's not going to be any chance for you to succeed. So what you need to do is have somebody that guide you to understand what you really need. What's your expertise? What's your vertical? What's your market? How you have been growing other company like mine. So then I can believe that you're going to be able to grow my company. Then the side hustle can be always the famous 10% of the budget. With 10%, try to create AI bot, AI influencer, AI UGC, and try to launch them in the market and see how it goes. But don't always expect that these things are going to last forever. So that's typically my way of working with this type of unusual activities.
And so what are the tools that people are starting to use? So if you're a serious business that's looking to accelerate your digital marketing, whether it's content creation, whether it's promotion, whatever it might be, what are the kind of standard tools and some of the things that you're starting to integrate with your clients to support them in doing that effectively?
So first of all, I just say that when everyone thinks that AI is the future, I always say that you are absolutely wrong, because AI was invented in 1955. So AI is the past, the faraway past. Now, it's going to be used now and in the future, yes, but it's something from the past that finally now has been mature enough. So what I say is that when I've seen a lot of technology trends and I've been forecasting trends for all of my life, even when I was a kid, I was seeing how technology was going to evolve. But I got this from my father. My father had set up a textile, no, actually my grandfather set up a textile company. My father bring it up, and he realized that textile was going to fade and disappear from Italy, which magic. The country where produced most of the textile and the luxury textile was going to disappear. And in fact, it did, because Eastern of Europe and then China started producing it at much cheaper rate than Italy. And in the same way, I've been forecasting a lot of technology innovations. For example, and noticing how every new technology innovation revolutionized all of the previous one. So when Google comes to life, I realized that this was going to be the future of business. And it did, until social media come to life. And then people are going to say, okay, the future is going to be social media. And people completely forgot about Google. And they were devoting only on social media until it became Instagram and pictures. And everyone was only about Instagram and pictures. And there was YouTube. And again, the future is going to be video, and company devote only everything about video. So every now and then, there was a new technology innovation that captured the attention of everyone else. The difference was that people forgot about what existing was working. And that's when I realized that organizations need a proper strategy. You don't need to hire a new team or new people every single month or every single year. You need a proper strategy that keep into consideration even those activities which does not exist right now. So that's why this is the secret sauce, to have a proper strategy. Otherwise, you're going to be chasing the trend of the moment, and every month somebody's going to tell you, oh, there is a metaverse. The future is going to be metaverse. And everyone believe, oh, you're absolutely right. And Facebook and Meta invested $12 billion or more, whatever, into this project. Definitely it's going to be the future. And people forgot about everything else. Now, what's happened when the metaverse got dismantled, got basically disappeared? Then people are coming back to do the same activity. For me, the metaverse was just one of the activity that you can do in your marketing. So even if metaverse does not exist or disappear, you still have other activity that will work. Now they say the future is going to be the Apple Vision Pro, because you can wear it, you can do this, you can do that, you can get this, you can get that, which could be the future. But don't forget about the past, because the past is what gave you revenue and customers until today, and it's still going to give you revenue and customer even tomorrow. Because I don't believe that everyone in the planet is going to buy the Apple Vision Pro $3,000 or more worth of headset and use it every day and forget about the mobile phone, the computer, the TV, walking on the street and doing any other activity. So for sure, there's going to be some space for Apple Vision Pro, but for quite some time, the vast majority of the space is going to be taken by the existing activity. So don't get crazy. If you are a technologist or you are an innovator, don't get crazy to jump into the latest technology every day, because you're going to forget what's already working for you.
I think it's an interesting point around building a marketing strategy with also what the future might look like as well, because I don't think people do that. I think also what's interesting is, I don't really know the right way to communicate it, but being more strategic, that's the wrong way, but like taking a deeper approach to your marketing strategy was kind of what kind of came out there. Because I think, I've seen people that you'd be shocked, very large business, that their budgeting for marketing is almost like, I've got 6 piggy banks and I'm going to put some money in that one, some money in that one, some money in that one, and that's going to go here and buy some media, and that's going to go here for an advert, and that's going to go here. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to thinking, okay, I'm going to put 1% into Apple Vision and I'm just going to give it a go. And I'm going to we're going to have 1 project internally and 3 from small, wild, innovative agencies. And we'll have a Game of Thrones type thing. We're sort of Game of Thrones, they call it. What's the other one? Anyway, this idea that the best one wins. And and that's what we're going to do, and that's the future, and whatever. I never really kind of see that when budgets are put together. It's very much it's a bit looser than that. So how do you take someone on a journey where you almost, like you talked about from an education perspective, re-educate about how deep you can get when it comes to a marketing strategy and what that can really look like and what that can do for a business?
Right. Typically, that is the job of the chief digital officer, which should sit at the board of director and talk directly with the CEO, the CFO, the CEO, and the head of HR, because that's his position, that's his job. Unfortunately, only huge organization can afford a chief digital officer, and there are not so many. In my training, I've been educating and building a lot of chief digital officer. But again, they're not enough. So many organizations, more than 30% of the open position for chief digital officer did not get fulfilled because they couldn't find the right individual. So it's very important that if you are a talented marketer or a talented technical person, digital marketing, head of digital marketing, you should consider becoming a chief digital officer, because that's you're gonna be helping your organization to really go forward, building the right digital strategy and maintaining the right direction. So otherwise, you need to get an external consultant or an external agency which is specialized and qualified to build a digital marketing strategy. That's basically is the idea. And then in the strategy, what we do first of all an X-ray, a digital audit of all of the digital activity, not the social media activity, not the SEO activity, all 360 degrees digital activities. Then we're going to discuss with the team, with the board, with the senior directors, where the organization want to go. Let's say we are here, this is our revenue, this is our number of branch, this is our sales, and here is where we want to go. Then we're going to plan together a certain amount of activities. And then we're going to budget them, put them in a roadmap, and then we're going to execute the activities together with the organization to have as well some of our time dedicated to talk with the senior management as a kind of chief digital officer on demand or chief digital officer part-time, because that's what any organization needs. It's exactly like having a chief financial officer on demand, a CFO on demand. So if you're not a huge organization, you don't need a full-time CFO. The same thing with the CDO. So that's basically is how we can make sure that the organization, first of all, get the right strategy and the right direction is going to be followed. Otherwise, you can go to one of those top 4 consulting agencies in the world, ask for a digital strategy. They give you the most comprehensive presentation ever. They charge you an arm and a leg, and then how you're going to implement it, nobody knows. So that's why for me, I always like practical things. If you have a document, then it's going to be easy for you to follow up, and it's going to be easy for me to help you follow up on the activity, rather than I'll give it to you, you do it, and then I disappear, and then if you do it or not, it's your problem. For me, I'm happy to follow up with clients and to stay with them as long as possible, because the more time we spend together, the more I understand their business, the more I can see which other industry they had the same issue, the same challenge, and they found a solution for it. So we can apply the same methodology, even if it has not been tested on that specific vertical. If you are a bank and you want to solve a problem, believe me, guys, so many other industries, especially telecommunication, have been going through so many issues that finance institution had, and they already solved it. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We need to apply an existing tactic that works for other industry, for other sectors. That's always the easy way. Clearly, you need some experience, because being somebody experienced in B2B is not the same as having somebody experienced in B2C. Again, most of people, most of businesses, they believe that digital marketing works mostly for B2C. But actually, we got specialized in B2B from the very beginning. Actually, I launched my first pay-per-click campaign in Oracle in 2003. So total, clearly B2B business in 2003. So even now, most of our clients are B2B. And that's why I enjoy working with B2B. Because if I bring you a client that they spend a lot with you, and they stay a lot with you, then you make massive amount of return out of one single client. For B2C, it's different, because you need a massive amount of clients, you need huge volume to generate some sort of revenue.
Sure.
So that's the idea.
I get it. Yes, I think the other interesting thing for me is obviously we talked a lot about people in organisations, but obviously you touched on training as well. So what about younger people? You know, obviously they're entering, and this is what I'm kind of seeing on the street. So you mentioned a guy who put all his money into crypto, made £3 million. I know somebody's made loads on YouTube. There's lots of these stories, and I think people get suckered into these things and think, oh, I can do that as well. I also think that digital marketing in the corporate world, because so fragmented, there's so many parts of it, it gets quite confusing. So kind of what are you seeing in terms of young people who want to enter the industry and what they want to do? And how are you kind of guiding them through that process to help them find what's right for them?
Right. Most of young people, they typically start digital marketing with social media because no old marketing executives, they understand the concept so well, and they like to have some youngster taking over. And the youngster, they love social media because they are on their mobile phone day and night. So this is the simplest and easiest way to do. It also depends on what background you've got. Because if you've got a background in communication, eventually, or PR, eventually social media makes a lot of sense for you. If you got a technical background, maybe doing like SEO, it's more appealing for you. If you have a background in development, in software development, maybe web development is good for you. So it should be something that you are doing because you are passionate for, not because maybe you expect to make more money. So back in the days, our parents, they try to advise us in those careers where eventually we're going to make more money. So that's why there are so many doctors, because doctor was considered one of the safest jobs with so much income, and as well lawyers. But now we recognize that lawyers are struggle to find clients. So whatever you're passionate for, the good moment for you is now, because you can get the chance online to express your talents and make money and get a career, get a living with it, whatever is your passion. So just my big advice, go for it big time. And then again, digital marketing or even marketing used to be one job for one person. Now, even in marketing, there is marketing, corporate communication, branding, PR, events. So there are many jobs. And in the same things with digital marketing. Actually, one of my friends, he was the first one that started the digital marketing department in Etihad Airways, the airline of Abu Dhabi. And he was the first person that he set up the Facebook page of Etihad Airways. And in the future, he set up all of the social media pages for the company. And he started posting. Now, many years later, now the marketing team, there are like 80 people or more. So you don't need to be alone and do everything yourself. You need to do what you're comfortable with, and then somebody else will take the other parts. So that's why now digital marketing is so big, and a lot of people, they can fit with it. Even if you think about social media, it's not anymore a one-person job. Now, to do social media effectively, if you have an agency, you know it very well, you need to have even 6 talents, because you have the social media manager, the community manager, you have the strategist, you have the copywriter, you have the graphic designer, and you have the video producer. Or eventually, you need as well somebody that does live events and shoot video at live events. Then eventually you need a presenter, somebody that goes around in the live event and interview people, etc., etc. So it's not just about a one-man show. Even SEO is not anymore a one-man show, because you can be the technical guy and you do the technical part, or you can be the copywriter, experts in SEO, or you are the strategist, and then you do the marketing approach for SEO. So, and there are more activity around that. So again, whatever is your passion, just go for it, and then nobody will stop you.
Totally. I think there's something. It's I come with. There's a phrase. It's like that's what gets you on the bus. You know, like if you don't want to get out of bed in the morning, you don't want to do it. You don't want to try. There's no financial incentive or perceived financial incentive that's going to get you to do it. And I think, as we sort of touched on AI slightly, I think the things that you can't replicate are big brain thinking, put your proper strategy together and understand lots of nuance. And then I think the person to person and the energy and someone who's passionate about something, I always love meeting people who are very passionate about something that I have absolutely no interest in. you know, like I'll meet somebody who does SEO, which is really complicated web, and they just geeking out about it, loving it, telling me about the latest algorithm, and I'm quite frankly bored, right? But I think that is the person that I want. You know what I mean? Like you've
Yeah.
bored me to death with this. You're such a, you know, a total evangelist. If you love it, that's the person I want to hire. I don't want to hire the person who's just drag themselves out of bed. They just want to get paid and go home, you know.
Yeah. Actually, this reminds me, one of the director that I had the pleasure to meet when I was working in Oracle, his name was Luis Vianna. He was very, very, very successful. And I was shocked because in his team, they were working for him, the smartest people I've ever met in my entire life. And I was thinking, how can you manage those people? I mean, those people are the smartest people ever. I mean, they were a trainer doing trainings about Oracle database all over across Europe in 5 different languages. Can you imagine that? And then there was the director of the IE, one of the best MBA school in the world. One of the senior director of that school decided to live and work for him in Oracle. And all people like this. I would say, how can you do it? And he say, my dear friend, my dear Italian friend, I am not the smartest person in the group. Everyone in my team is way smarter than me. And I was thinking like, wow. And how can you hire somebody smart, somebody way smarter than you? And I say, because my job is not to teach them how to do. My job is to manage them. They are the one doing their job better than me and better than anyone else. And that's always like, wow, now I understand a lot. Because in many organizations, you hire people that know less than you because you want to be the king. And they're going to be lower. And if you grow, guess who they're going to hire? Somebody that know less than them, and less than them, and less than them. So if under you there are 3 levels of managers, at the last level, you get dogs and cats and monkeys, right? But if you are very, very smart, you hire people smarter than you in their field. This is what they need to do. And you are the manager, the one that manage the entire team to get an overall results better than any other organization out there. That was for me a big strike of genius. That's why I started being the geek that knows a little bit of everything until I realized I don't need any more. Now I can rely on very smart people that they know massive amount of things in their niche, in their field. That's how I can survive with the crazy amount of technology innovation that are out there every day.
Totally, and that probably leads me quite nicely onto your book. So, obviously, we can't talk about it without first talking about the title, "The Pizza Guide to Digital Marketing." So, why is it called that, and what sort of content can we expect from your book?
All right. The funny story is that at one of my presentations that I did so many years ago, I mentioned the pizza because I'm Italian and obviously we like pizza. And then in order to explain a very complex topic, I use the metaphor of pizza. And then people in the audience, they like the presentation a lot. And in those days, they vote my presentation the best presentation of the entire day. So out of all the speakers, mine was the best. I was thinking, wow, I'm so unexperienced, an unexperienced public speaker, unexperienced presenter, and they like my presentation. So suddenly, I realized that people enjoy the concept of pizza, and I use it more. When I explain more concept, even when I explain SEO, analytics, etc., I always look and use metaphor of pizza. And then what's happened? After a few conferences, I go to another conference, and I met some of the people that they met me in previous conferences. And they told me, the pizza guy, hey, how are you? How are you? I was thinking, the pizza guy, hi, how are you? How are you? I was thinking, but I'm a professional professor for the Digital Marketing Institute, and they call me the pizza guy. But then I was thinking, that's good. If they remember me as the pizza guy, I mean, nobody's going to remember me as Professor Christian Farioli, because if you're not Italian, you struggle a lot to remember my name. And then I was realizing it. I think that the pizza things is going to be part of my personal brand. And I keep doing it more and more and more. And boom, went up to the roof. Some of the HR department that they had the training for their team 5 years before, 5 years later, they contact me and he say, how are you? How are you? You know why I remember you? after 5 years for two things. Out of all of the lecturers that we met in our organization, I remember you for two things. One is because every time I open LinkedIn, I see some of your contents. And back in the days, very few people used to post in LinkedIn. Second thing, because of the pizza. Then again, I was thinking, wow, he's the head of HR of the largest organization distributing Nissan, Infiniti, and Renault in United Arab Emirates, and he remembered me because of the pizza. So I say, pizza it is. And when I was discussing with my publisher and with also one of my coach, he advised me when we were thinking about the title of the book, because I wrote the book, but I was missing yet the title. It took me 3 years and a half to write the book and was missing the title. So again, brainstorming, again, one of my coach, Dave Crane, that I remember with, and I cannot thank him enough. He came out with the idea, the pizza guide to digital marketing. I was thinking that, bam, done it. And that's how the pizza things come out as a title. And then, and after 1 month, it became one of the best-selling books in Amazon in the category of marketing worldwide. So this was crazy. Then a few years later, actually last year in June, I launched a book about artificial intelligence, because for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been also teaching for PwC and many large organizations artificial intelligence in finance, in oil and gas, in management, in marketing, in business, in leadership, etc., etc. And then that was an easy decision. So what was the title of that book? Pizza and AI. And there we are. So you can Google it and you can find it in every Amazon store across the globe. So that's how the pizza comes out. Again, somebody may think, but that's not professional. You are absolutely right. But this is what people remember. So I prefer to be remembered as the pizza guy, the pizza AI, the pizza marketing, the pizza whatever you like, rather than being forgot like 99% of all of the other book author, trainer, marketer out there.
I think it's easy to be remembered. It opens you up for a nice series. So if you wanted to open another pizza guide to something else,
there we are.
You've got lots of opportunity.
There we are. And actually, sometimes some of my students, they always told me, oh, you know, when they meet me at conferences, you know, every time I go out with my family and I eat pizza, I remember at you. So there we are. I anchor myself inside the pizza. Nobody can remove me from that.
I need to be the pie guy or something like that, don't I? Now I'm very British. And then finally, I think it kind of takes us to your current role, obviously, as founder of ESD in Dubai. So quick opportunity to talk to us about the offer there and the kind of things that you're doing and kind of clients you've got.
Right. So we work with a full range of clients from small startup to larger corporate. We have a full-fledged digital agency with every activity. But at the same time, as I say, for the last 5 to 6 years, most of the time we start with a strategy. Because otherwise, if you come to me 10 years ago asking me, we need to grow, I will launch a pay-per-click campaign. Google Ads, no question asked, boom, I will grow you with blind eyes without even thinking. Right now, every organization is doing a little bit of Google Ads, a little bit of social media ads, and a little bit of SEO. Every single organization in the planet, including the little restaurant down the corner, the little pub down the corner, they are doing a little bit of this. So if you do it, these three, you're not going to get results. You're going to get little results, but you're going to struggle. So you need the strategy first. That's why we do a strategy, and after we're able, basically, to run the perfect activity that are going to help your company grow exponentially. The different things is when you pay Google, you get results because you pay Google. And how can you get better results? By paying more Google. When you pay Facebook, how you get more results? By paying more Facebook. But again, once you stop paying, then your results disappear. That's why even when you go to the doctor and you have a serious issue, they give you some medicine and some pain relief. The painkiller, they kill the pain immediately. But the medicine or the antibiotic, they work on the long term. So there are some digital marketing tactics that work instantly, typically in the first quarter, in the first 3 months. And there are other activities which work more down the line. You cannot expect that with a simple painkiller your marketing skyrockets. We do the initial meetings, the initial briefing with clients, and we ask, where are you right now? How many sales per month? How many leads per month? Okay, 1 year time. You're going to be happy when your organization got what type of results? How many sales? How many leads? Now, there are clients, honestly, that they tell us, at the moment, we're getting in the range of 15 to 20 sales per month. We want to reach 1,000 sales per month. So, wow, that's a bold achievement. I mean, to go from 15 to 1,000, that's like a two-digit increase. And then, okay, how is important for you to reach 1,000? Because we can do this and this and that. Good. So how dedicated are you going to be about achieving this 1,000 sales per month? Some company, they say, look, we want to go all in. But some company, they say, yeah, but you know, we have a limited budget because we are still a small company. We want to grow with limited budget. So this thing doesn't go together. You cannot expect to go in Formula One with a small car that takes little petrol, it costs little money, and you expect to win the Formula One race. Because that's what marketing is, right? You want to beat your competitor in a race. And to beat your competitor, you need to know who are your competitor. Are they little cars or they are Ferrari Formula One cars or Red Bull cars? So it's clearly a different game. If you want to beat a Ferrari Formula One car, you need to have a budget to beat a Ferrari Formula One car. Otherwise, you can start increasing, and then you can beat the big guys. Unfortunately, organizations, they still think that the budget to allocate in digital marketing is what used to be allocated 10 years ago. 10 years ago, honestly, guys, with few $100 a month, I could have grown any company of any type because I was doing it every day. Right now, with few $100 a month, you get absolutely nothing. You need a lot more. And you don't need just to give this money to Google. You need some work ahead. You need to prepare the proper message, the proper communication plan, the proper strategy. So that's require more time and require a little bit of investment. But again, what's the alternative? The alternative is going to be you close down your business and finish. And no more chance for you to win the Formula One race of marketing. So that's basically is what we do. Then every now and then we advise a company as well on full digital transformation. And again, we advise at the board level, at the C-level executives about the direction that they should take in order to stay relevant a few years down the line. Because the job of a CEO is not to increase the sales. If you are working in a huge organization and you are the CEO, you know that very well. You cannot expect to increase the sales 50%, 100%. It's not going to happen. Even more, if you are a publicly listed company, your job as a CEO is to increase the value of the shares of your company. And there are specific tactics for that, which fell into what we call it the investor relationship marketing. Those are the tactics that convince investors of a publicly listed company to buy the shares of your company. And that's, as a CEO, your share value, your stock option, multiply in value at the end of the year if you achieve your job, your task of increasing the value of the shares. So clearly, the tasks that we typically do with the organization is different if we are speaking about a scaling up startup or a government organization, which they need some time to restructure or to prove or to measure the ROI, or if we need to execute a tactic for large corporate.
Yeah, really interesting. I think it's probably one of those things we talk about for a long time. And I think finally, the future. I think I wanted to kind of end on the future. So you've kind of mentioned that you are regularly looking at trends, and you've been quite good at spotting those. So if you're a betting man, where would you say that the future of digital marketing is, and where should we be looking to investigate or invest in?
Right. First of all, AI is here to stay for a very long time. And I'm doing more and more training to senior executives, dedicated training for senior executives, which they're not going to be needing to do AI themselves, to program AI. It's like digital marketing for high-level executives. It's not about how to do SEO. It's how SEO is going to fit into the bigger picture of an organization. And in the same way, technology is exactly that. AI, how is going to fit as a big picture in an organization. At the same time, as a huge trend, which I basically came across more than 8 or 9 years ago, is the concept of personal brand. Every single senior executive needs a personal brand. And this takes a little bit of time. It's a completely different approach. Don't expect that your marketing manager is going to be able to do personal brand for senior executive, because it's a completely different task. This is something that we're doing for quite some time with few key organizations, and it works absolutely amazingly, because you are building a brand of a company, but honestly, guys, nobody cares about your company brand. People care less and less and less about your company brand, but people care about people. People care about the CEO of the organization, the CFO, which talk about numbers, the CMO, which give the vision about how the brand is going to be, how people, the audience, the target audience is going to be looking for, etc., etc. And those people, they need to have a public visibility. Now, normally is not their job to be public figure and publicly visible and be personal brand. But that's why they need support of organization that are going to know how to create personal brand out of existing C-level figures. So then the CEO is going to be able to lead the organization better because he's the leading force. Basically, some people, some entrepreneur, some true entrepreneur is a key person of influence. Somebody like Elon Musk. So you don't buy an expensive electric car, Tesla, because you save the environment. You buy for a lot of reasons, but the main reason, if you believe it or not, is because Elon Musk exists and you buy Elon Musk. The same thing has been done by Virgin with Richard Branson and few other companies. And the same reason that you start buying Apple because of Steve Jobs. And you're still buying Apple because of the memory of Steve Jobs. So that's what we need to realize, guys. That's either you are a communicator. If you're not, there are ways to become a better communicator, better public speaker, etc., or at least to have your image online, your personal brand online, mentioning and showcasing some characteristics that you want to be portrayed, associated with your company brand. At the same time, you as the CEO is going to become more popular. Eventually, one day, if you're going to decide to leave the company, go to another organization, you're going to be the public figure that everyone want to pay you big money to drive the attention to another company. Exactly like the fashion brands. They know that very well, and they have a brand ambassador which got paid a fortune. And once another company, another fashion brand pay them more, they take them away, it take them away with them all of the followers. I'm not talking about the social media followers. I'm talking about the real follower that with social media or without, they're still going to follow them. So this is very important for senior executive. And that's, I start believing it 8 years ago that this was going to be the future. And I still believe it right now that for the next 10 years at least, is going to be a trend that's going to stay.
Perfect. It's one of those things I've been thinking about and talking to you. I was like, you know what? I need to start putting some money into this. I need to invest in it. It's so true. You're preaching to the converted. Christian, absolutely fascinating.
And it's expensive in terms of money or in terms of time.
No, that's the thing. That's what I'm worried about.
For myself, it took me so much time to achieve the personal brand that I got today. And that's why now I'm compressing everything with the help of my team as well to achieve the same results for other individuals in a fraction of a time, because we got the skills, we got the knowledge, we got the know-how, and we got the people, the team to do it. But I agree with you that if you're doing it on your own, it takes a lot of mental strength and effort to allocate the amount of time required.
Totally. Christian, it's been fascinating. If people want to reach out to you, how might we get in touch with you? What's the best way to get in touch?
All right. So the best way, and I'm very open to everyone, I never say no to anyone. You go to farioli.com and you will get all of my links. So Farioli is FARIOLI.com. It's exactly like my surname. And you will find all of my social. Feel free to contact me. I'll tell everyone the best way is LinkedIn, because at least I understand immediately who you are, what you're doing, what's your company, and then you can message me, send me whatever you need. But please, guys, don't try to sell me anything because I'm not up for it.
Thanks very much, Christian.
Because I got hundreds of requests every day.
Exactly.
Because
You're
I'm
getting
an
a
open
million
person.
people now badgering
I got
you.
people
Going,
asking me exactly and try to sell me any kind of stuff.
No, I think partnerships, yes. Interesting opportunities,
100%.
yes. Pitching you things from a sales perspective, definitely not.
100%. 100%.
Cheers, Christian.
All right. Yeah, wonderful. That has been great, Simon, and looking forward to speak with you more.
Yeah, excellent. So I'm currently investing in the podcast more, so there'll be loads of content and stuff coming out. Season 3 is coming out. The teaser's coming out on Tuesday, and then the episodes are going to...
I think I'm going to stop the recording, I think, right?
Yeah.
Stop.